I had been on this new prison for less than 48 hours and already in the midst of drama, chaos, miscommunication, etc. And because of the actions of somebody else overhead or up the chain of command, I had to join a new car in the organization when I was actually on my way out. But because I was playing chess and had to be strategic and stay charge free, and I was on an institution where I would now be able to see my girlfriend for the first time in over a year. Why? Because she was a former employee for DOC. Man, I did what it took. I wanted to go to visit. I wanted to see her. I wanted to be able to have that conversation. I remember the very following Monday morning, I got up. They called me to the office finally for orientation, get my property and all that stuff. And immediately the counselor was like, "Can I help you with anything before you go?" I was like, "Yes, I need to add such and such to the visitation list." And it was that easy. That was the process. But here's the thing. It's always somebody that's want to ask questions. Somebody's always got an issue because she was flagged as a former member or former staff member at DOC. There was questions. An investigator came, asked me questions, and ironically enough, on the same institution, the warden that was on Greensville would ended up coming down to St. Bride's. And I remember him saying very clearly when he seen me one time, he said, "I hope you don't think you're gonna bring that show down here." And I wasn't. I was actually trying to transition to be, you know, charge free on my way home. I wanted to just go home, get married, start a life, and just live. That's what I wanted to do. I was focused, but because your reputation is important, and I had a good reputation with the guys at times, I had a reputation with the staff. Obviously, I was somebody that, in their eyes, had manipulated a staff member, but in our eyes, the two people that were in a relationship, we were in a relationship. It was genuine. It was real. It's just my circumstance was I was incarcerated. She was not. And because of so much hate and everything that comes attached to it, they tried. They tried to put up different obstacles. They tried to give different reasons as to why she wouldn't be able to. But it's important that you know the policy, institutional and for the entire Department of Corrections when it comes for that state, because the rules are the rules and the laws are the law. And fortunately, because I was one that studied the policy, I knew that there was nothing that they could do, and she was allowed into the institution. And before I could tell the counselor a few days after, me being questioned, etc., waiting for an answer, I said, well, I would hope that I wouldn't have to file an informal complaint because I should have received an answer in regards to if my visitation would be approved or not with her. And wouldn't you know it, before the end of the day, I had received that request form stating that she was good to go. And that was it. I remember around this time, even though I had been transferred to a lower level, getting closer to home, it was still stressful. And maybe some of the stress was building up because I was getting closer to home and things were becoming more real. There was a shift now. For our entire relationship, it was attached to while I was on Greensville Correctional Center. She was from that area. There was a familiarity there. We hadn't ventured into any other new chapter of our relationship. And here we were, closer to the door. And like I said, I think for me, it was anxiety. I can't really speak for her. I'm not going to, just giving my perspective. But I know this, she was supportive through it all. And Lord knows everything she was going through on the outside of this thing. But being in a relationship with somebody incarcerated does not make things easier, no matter how good that person is, because you want them there for certain moments or you need support and you can't get it, etc. It's real. I understood that. But I want to do everything in my power to do what I could do as her man while I was incarcerated. So, like I said, if that meant for me joining the car so I could stay on the institution for a little bit longer, so be it. I was going to get my chance. I needed it because the arguments had become more and more. The stress level was high. It was like at an all-time high. There was no happiness. There was no laughter anymore in the phone calls. And I became even more stressed because I was thinking about each phone call, there was a dollar amount attached to it. And there was an anxiety attached to that, just wanting to make the best of the 20-minute phone calls. Hoping you didn't end up on a certain institution or hoping they didn't put a limit on phone calls like they do on certain institutions. There's a lot of anxiety to be in a relationship. And at least being able to get a visit, well, maybe I didn't have to rely on the phones as much. Maybe it would provide stability in our relationship where we didn't argue. Maybe things would start working out for the better. And I don't know, I was excited. So, after a couple of weeks going back and forth, paperwork, etc., and then finally being able to call her to tell her that I could see her, she told me, she said, "Hey, I'll be up there Saturday." And I said, "Are you serious?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Bet." And I could not remember being more nervous into that point in my bid, because this would be the first time that I could see her and we wouldn't have to hide. Phone calls we didn't have to hide, letters we didn't have to hide anymore, but this would be the first time we could see each other, interact with each other. I could hold her hand, etc., give her a hug without hiding. And this was going to be major. So, man, I was just getting ready for a visit. It was Friday night. I was ironing my clothes, you know what I'm saying, laying stuff out the day before. Like, I was getting ready to go to the club. We call it going to the dance floor. And I was excited. Got up the next morning, worked out, took a shower, you know what I'm saying, all that, got ready. And then first thing that morning, you know what I'm saying, I heard my name called. Willer's visitation.